What You Missed the Month of September 2024. I'm Ryan Wingfield, and I voted. That's right, early voting has begun in the U.S. presidential election. According to one poll, 2/3 of Republicans believe people should not have the option to vote early. And some of them don't think people should be allowed to vote at all. Donald Trump has spent much of the last month doubling down on false claims that immigrants are eating people's pets. I think if the last few months has taught us anything, it's that if someone is going to eat a pet, it's going to be Robert Kennedy Jr. Many Republicans are encouraging Trump to pull his support for a governor candidate who referred to himself as a black Nazi. I know that sounds bad, but black Nazi is probably the only black demographic that is willing to vote for Trump. Kamala Harris has steadily been building a narrow lead in most polling. That's thanks in part to whooping Donald Trump in this month's debate. In fact, the last time Trump was spanked by a woman that hard, he had to pay $140,000 in hush money. Harris has challenged Trump to a second debate, but Trump says he will only do it if he can debate Biden again. In a rare statement, Pope Francis spoke out about the U.S. election and advised American Catholics to pick the lesser evil between the two candidates. Because even the Pope agrees an evil choice is still better than voting for a third-party candidate. A would-be assassin was caught waiting for Donald Trump at his Mar-a-Lago golf course. No shots were ever fired at the former president, but the gunman has called for a mulligan. The United Nations passed a Pact for the Future during their annual General Assembly. It was a bittersweet moment for U.S. President Joe Biden, who doesn't have much of a future left. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky visited U.S. President Biden at the UN and presented a plan for victory in his country's war with Russia. Wait a minute, you mean that you're just now coming up with a plan? For the last 3 years you've been winging it? All right. Israel is believed to be behind a massive explosion of pagers and walkie-talkies that were used by members of Hezbollah. The attack is seen as a major blow to Hezbollah, as well as drug dealers from the 1990s. The president of Venezuela says he is moving Christmas to October 1st in an attempt to win public support after a disputed election. Because nothing says I'm an honest politician like bribing every single person in the country. Singer Sean Diddy Combs has been charged with sex trafficking and racketeering. Personally, I think he diddy it. New York City Mayor Eric Adams faces federal charges for accepting bribes, including trips to Turkey. Investigators became suspicious when a bald man kept traveling to Turkey and coming back without hair plugs. You see, Turkey is famous for men's hair plugs. Don't ask me how I know this, but I am aware. Australia is planning to set a minimum age law for using social media. The law is facing opposition from digital rights advocates as well as online sexual predators. A polar bear was spotted in Iceland after presumably traveling on an iceberg from Greenland, so even Iceland is dealing with unwanted immigrants. The European Union says this summer was the hottest ever recorded, averaging 0.69 degrees Celsius hotter than average. Wow, said Americans. Is that a lot? We don't really know. South Korea says climate change is hurting the quality of the country's signature dish, kimchi, which begs the question, there's such a thing as good kimchi? China is raising the country's retirement age for the first time since the 1950s. The good news is that old people in sweatshops will have more time to spend with their grandkids. Taylor Swift was spotted at the opening game of the Chiefs football season. She was showing support for her boyfriend Travis Kelce because from her perspective, a sold-out football stadium still seems half empty. A new report says drinking 2 to 3 cups of coffee a day may help protect against diabetes, heart disease, and strokes. Unless that coffee is a 500-calorie mocha frappuccino, in which case you are probably already dead. An asteroid the size of a bus has temporarily been caught by the Earth's gravity, essentially becoming a mini-moon. Mini-moon is also what I call it when someone's butt crack is showing. And finally, the annual Oktoberfest celebration has kicked off in Munich, Germany. Fun fact, Oktoberfest originally began in October, but they had to move up the start date to September so that the festivities wouldn't conflict with Christmas celebrations. Also, some free advice. Make sure you bring lots of antacid tablets with you when you go to an Oktoberfest celebration. That way, you are prepared for the worst. Mwah! Good night, everybody! I'll see you next month.